Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. Host Prince Magnum. Here we are again, picking up the pieces. Today, we did our morning stream, and right after this morning stream, I had gotten some bad news. But we're going to continue soldiering forward to putting the pressure on to Princess Faye to give me that call to come home, to do the next right thing. But I have to add to the tragic part of what's been going on. When it rains, it pours here on at the Prince Magnum channel. So I know for a lot of you out there that this is going to be a kind of a gut wrenching one. You know, it's going to be hard for a lot of you guys out there that, basically this is going to be too, we're going to stay alive and try to get as much out as we can. But towards the end, I know it's going to be time to wind it down for the evening. We're going to continue with my promise that I'd made this morning. So this is going to be a tough one for a lot of folks, and I see people starting to make their way in. We're going to wait till about the 10 minute, the 5 to 10 minute marker as usual, and then we're going to talk about the big break. I guess you could say the big story that has happened um, earlier today. So first half is going to be more tragedy happening in my life. The second half, we're going to continue to try to bring Princess Faye home by any means necessary. So we're still soldiering forward. And for those that were wondering why I initially wanted to go live earlier, but it didn't happen that way, because Prince Magnum ate a decent sized meal for the first time since Saturday, thinking it was the smart thing to do, and I actually got sick to my stomach. I haven't been eating normal, so I was kind of sick to the, and I guess you could say I needed a moment. Yeah, everything's going good there. Okay, so as y'all begin to make your way in, and I know a lot of you have got a lot of questions. What other tragedy could have possibly happened, Prince Magnum? What more? What more can you take? How much more can you take? Well, that's just it. We're about to find out, huh? No one start jumping to conclusions either. Okay. Um, this is probably going to be one of the hardest ones that I'll have to do. Um, hey, what's going on, Megan? What's happening, Craig? Um, some of you already know what's happening. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Basically, right now, as far as the questions go for Princess Faye, she is still yet to respond to me. I think right now the shock is starting. It's one of those things. I know my wife well enough. Shock is setting in. She never thought that I would go so far as to give the crime, what her dad did to her, give her dad's name, and then what her mom did to her, and then give her mom's name and the town they live in. Now, remember again, that may sound, it's like, oh, that sounds like, no, it's not. Uh, and let me also explain something. I actually had to go find this out for myself. And I know here on YouTube, we hear about that term doxing. We hear about that. Someone actually had to explain that to me. I'd never heard it before. Someone actually had to explain that to me. And it is morally wrong for the most part, but it is not illegal because in most cases, anybody could get anything on anybody anymore, and that's perfectly legal. So technically speaking, that is not illegal. Now, granted, we took it into the gray area where they had the town, they had the names. After that, I did gave no more. Her parents need to see justice. Okay, you've got a father that got away with sexually assaulting his daughter at the age of 14. And we gave descriptions, the same exact descriptions Princess Faye basically gave me. Dude, that's your 14-year-old daughter. Really? And then the sexual advances that came after that, pretty much the closer she got to 18, the worse they got. Yeah, that was actually a thing. So we talked about that yesterday. This man has never faced justice. And by the way, this is who my wife is trusting. And she blames me for everything. This guy's an avid drug user himself, you know. And how long is it going to be before he decides to get my wife messed up and take advantage of her? Yeah, that we actually I actually had to do that yesterday, Megan. Bitsy, we're going to get to that. Now again, I remind everyone my wife is sick. She's very sick. Um, she fell into the trappings, okay? Folks, for those who do not know, my wife is was at one time an admitted member of Alcoholics Anonymous right alongside me. And it was shortly after our wedding that that actually happened. So that was, and she fell into the trappings. Okay. And she resented the fact. No, Ian's channel. Um, no, no, no. Thank you, Megan. It was really nice of you to do that. And there's our local city police department doing what they do best, making sure that the neighborhood is safe. Oh, that was someone down there. I was like, what the heck is going on? No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you there, Megan. Yeah, that's our local PD. They're good people. But we're going to go a step further on this, okay? After this morning's live stream, I did make some promises that I will keep today. Those promises are that if Princess Faye does not answer, basically answer the call, we're going to go to the next level. I will be giving out my real name. I'll be giving out her real name, and I'll be giving out her sister's real name, who was also instrumental in paying Princess Faye's trip across country, which in then Princess Faye was actually transferring a prescription medication without a prescription, and we're estimated to believe that it after talking with some of my friends in the medical field, I had to get in touch with some folks that she may have had Adderall, which here in the state of Missouri, if you're caught with Adderall without a prescription, you're looking at 5 to 7 years. Now, obviously, I don't want that to happen to my wife, but if she is out of her head enough on on all the drugs and the booze and all the other mental stuff, and to think that this is okay, it's not okay. So she obviously needs more help than we anticipated. Okay. Also, if you suffer any form of manic depression, you won't be ever given Adderall, because what happens is it speeds you up and it causes you to go into a manic state, which explains her flightiness in the last few weeks. Explains a lot. So, because her sister was basically paid for it. What's going on, J Dog? Because her sister paid for it, she's an accessory to the crime. And the federal government and the federal law enforcement will not care. The I didn't know. How could you not know? It's your sister. So, but we'll get to all of that a little bit later. The first hour that I want to spend the most on is what happened to basically what happened between yesterday's live stream and today's. Uh, Ian's channel was shut down. There you go, J Dog. Ian's channel was shut down last night. There was evidently a lot of folks that were really angry, thinking that, okay, maybe. But evidently, from what I understand, he was reported. There was a mass reporting, and he lost his channel last night. A lot of folks evidently were thinking that that there was something going on between him and Princess Faye, and I know better than that. Okay, I know better than that. That's my brother, you know, and him and I've even talked about it afterwards. So, guys, for realsies, what's going on, Simon? For realsies, you know, there's no reason to be like that towards my brother. You know, I trust him. I trust him. He's a good guy, and as a matter of fact, um, when you're trying to text out, you know, an important message that you want the creator in the live stream to see, it is so difficult for the uh, for it to really. Well, mostly she kept saying that it was all my fault, that I was screwing around on her and stuff like that. No, it wasn't. You know, I'm going to admit there was one time I did, and she knew about it. Okay, I fucked up. All right, we were having some serious problems, and I failed as a husband, and that was one time a long time ago. Okay, and for the first time ever, we'll actually talk a little bit about that today. Okay, you guys will actually be able to see a spot where I actually kind of talked about it. There's actually a spot here on the channel where it was talked about. You guys just didn't know it. But anyhow, so let's get down to what happened after this morning's live stream. I went ahead and lied down because I've just been under the weather, and I knew I was going to have to get up and make some phone calls and things like that, which I did. Uh, Still waiting on the job from a local Walmart to to give me the okay to come to work. Well, I can't wait. Bills are starting to mount up. No, she was saying that she can't be with me anymore. She can't be with me anymore, which that's vague, okay, to me. What's going on, Mike G? So we're going to get to all of that, but you guys need to hear let's get to the stuff with Princess Faye. We need to actually go over something a little bit, something that just happened recently. I get a phone call from my mom this morning, um, knowing full well that, I was going to have to get up and start making phone calls on jobs and things like that. And what ends up happening is my mother, I'm hanging in there, Mike G. So after this morning's live stream, my mom uh, sends me, gives me a phone call. It says, son, I've got bad news for you. Your 96-year-old grandmother passed away last night. So on top of everything, my 96-year-old grandmother passed away last night at about 11 o'clock Central Standard U.S. time at the age of 96 years old, um, leaving behind two children and a lot of grandkids and a lot of great grandkids. She was one of those ladies that was that grew up during the time. Me too, Bitsy. She grew up during the time of the Great Depression of the 19 that began in 1929 and went all the way up until 1939. She was also alive during through the Second World War. Um, Lived in and grew up in a small town, Quincy, Illinois. Um, my grandma would then go on to marry my grandpa, who was a veteran of the Second World War, and they lived a very. They didn't have a whole lot of money, but believe it or not, they didn't really, even though it was always a struggle. We're talking serious poor class here, where my dad actually was telling me there was times he would hear, do we buy more fuel oil to keep the house warm, or do we buy the kids a gallon of milk? This is one of the reasons why that my dad, as he got older, uh, absolutely could not drink milk because he heard that. Most people don't know that. So we're talking, my grandpa was a watchmaker, and he passed away, ironically enough, September 11th, 2000, 1 year before the Trade Center attack, before the 9/11 incident. My grandpa passed away 1 year to the day, and he was 75. A couple years ago, Princess Faye actually met my grandmother, and my grandma was like, "You are so sweet. I am so glad that Prince Magnum actually found someone to settle down with because you just seem like the perfect one for him." Um, there's a lot of great stories about my grandma. It devastates me. It's knocking the wind out of my sails because both of my grandmothers were amazing. They were amazing ladies. Um, I just lost one of my grandmothers last year in February, just before the pandemic hit. This grandma we lost this year now due to the pandemic. We're not sure who, but someone came over carrying that one little. Hmm. Haven't seen him yet, Mike G. Um, so this morning getting that news knocked the wind out of my sails, and I hadn't talked to my mother, so she kind of found out about Princess Faye. So this is the same. Hmm, appreciate that, Bitsy, but I only want one woman in my life, and I appreciate that. But right now, that one woman is pretty upset right now. Drugs and alcohol have taken over. Depression has creeped in, and we're trying to take to take every bit of those enablers, those people that are going to hurt her. We're trying to separate them, to get her home and get her well. Now, after we get her well enough to actually make positive decisions on her own, then first and foremost, if she still wants to leave, at least then I'll be knowing that she does it with a clear mind, and I can live with that. Now, let me tell you all a funny thing. Many of you have said that, Prince Magnum, you're a comedy genius. You're hilarious. You're funny. And you really know how to, get a hold of people and make them go, yes, I love this. And people feel good. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of you out there that even love the Cinnamon character, which has a lot of comedy wrapped up in her. Let me tell y'all an interesting story about my grandmother. Obviously, she would not have approved of the Cinnamon character. Well, we have flipped the tables. We'll get to that just shortly, okay? This is going to be about a 2 hour live stream, but the first part of it is about my grandmother. So let's focus on that, okay? Let's focus on my grandma. My grandmother deserves this. Let me tell y'all, a lot of you have said in the YouTube community, a lot of you, um, that grandma, that my grandma was, she was instrumental in what the comedy that you see today, and has a special story that deserves to be told today. Both of my grandmothers seen me through child abuse. Um, and as a matter of fact, my the grandma that just passed away, um, this is a true story. Okay, I was um, I was probably about 7, maybe 8 years old, and all of us grandkids were sitting around the table with grandma playing a board game, and like always, I was being a goofy kid, just a goofy kid, and telling just being telling jokes and stuff like that. Very typical, goofy but yet awkward because I had no, I knew I liked to make people laugh, and I like to be the center of attention, making people laugh. So it was a good time. Well, as story goes, some of my cousins started kind of picking on me a little bit about it. Saying some, saying, that I wasn't that funny and things like that. And my grandma was giggling the whole time. Well, finally, she turned around and she looked at all my cousins. She said, "You leave him alone." And she looks at me and says, "Prince Magnum, don't you listen to them. Don't you dare listen to them. Laughter makes the world go round. You keep making people laugh. You keep making people laugh because we need it. Keep making that world turn." My grandmother, that just passed away yesterday, said that to me. And you know what? I may have been 7, maybe 8 years old, but I listened. Grandma, wherever you're at, I listened. And people laugh a lot when I get going. People love it when I get going. They feel good when I get going. We have a good time. And I know a lot of you appreciate the character of Cinnamon, constantly reminding everyone to be themselves. But at the same time, Cinnamon likes to make people laugh. We'll say things to make people laugh, and people love her for it. Well, you might want to say that my grandmother, in a way, inspired that. My grandmother inspired Cinnamon's sense of humor. Now, it may not be the sense of humor she would appreciate a whole lot, but she would get it. Why? Because people were laughing. My grandmother knew all too well. It is amazing. Oh, yes. And see, my grandmother would have, she would have said, "I don't necessarily approve of you doing this, but if it's making people feel good and it's making people laugh, then you keep doing it. I don't have to approve of it for it to be okay." And she would often tell you, go do what you got to do, you know, go be yourself, things like that. Kind of shady looking. No wonder the police are checking closely. Looks a little shady. But the police regularly keep an eye on things over here. So my grandmother, as much as, it breaks my heart. So this was one of the people that, was instrumental. That in a lot of ways, Cinnamon would not exist the way that Cinnamon does. So she's my grandmother in a lot of ways. You might want to even say distantly inspired Cinnamon's comedy. And as of today, Cinnamon had her debut in a wrestling promotion where she is a manager. Our friend Broken Mike does a bit. Well, does like this segment a couple times a week where he does like a wrestling show using a video game. He creates characters to, based on people he knows here on YouTube and a few other places. He creates characters based on them. And I have a character. The Prince Magnum character is over there on in his BUW wrestling organization, and currently right now is holding the tag titles with another guy named Landon and forming the Magnum Dynasty. But today, Cinnamon actually debuted in part 3 of today's release as a manager, kind of a cross between Bobby the Brain Heenan, Missy Hyatt, and Miss Elizabeth. Which I'm going to make the suggestion to Mike the first chance I can that Cinnamon might want to actually get a little bit more involved in the matches, do some dirty stuff, you know. kind of be a little bit of an interruption, that sort of thing. But she is not meant to be as a combatant. So, Cinnamon is now a manager in a wrestling promotion. Even though it's a video game wrestling promotion, she's still there. And as a matter of fact, a dear friend of ours debuted with her. We didn't win our match, but doggone it, it was still a good match. Put on a great show for the fans. So it was a great show. So if y'all think that's interesting, there you go, a little bit right there. So the other thing that's been going on, so that's, my grandmother is instrumental in that character, and that character has helped countless people. I know there's been, thank you, Megan. Uh, I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted. This year's sucked bad for the loss of friends and family and for the loss of love, you know. So Cinnamon has been instrumental in a lot of ways. Folks, my grandmother was an amazing. What's going on, Martin? I just announced the passing of my 96-year-old grandma. That's how I'm doing. On top of everything with Princess Faye, the getting news this morning after this morning's live stream that my grandmother passed away. So now I'm down to where I have one grandparent left. It's it's hard right now. It's hard. My grandmother was an amazing woman. No one can make Polish sausage and sauerkraut like that woman. Nobody. And even though it was pre-packed, the canned, sauerkraut, and she would do the Polish sausage on the cooktop, and you felt like you were eating like a king every time. It was like one of the best dishes she always made. Um, Maybe one day, as a tribute to my grandma, we might try to do that. You know, we might try to do that in a video, including some of the things that they might have done during the Great Depression that my grandmother passed on to us. We'll do that. We'll look at doing that. My grandma was an amazing woman, through and through. I love her very much. And it's going to be hard because a lot of us, ah, Bitsy, behave yourself now. It's YouTube, not Pornhub. I appreciate that, but honestly and truthfully, right now, I don't, I honestly don't feel like there is any woman that can even come close. I appreciate that though. I know my grandma, when meeting, um, my grandmother, um, I appreciate that. Not right now. I don't think I'll be getting, I don't think I'll be getting through this anytime soon. Again, mainly my biggest concern is get her home, get her safe, and get her feeling well. And if she still wants to leave, I'll understand that. But not back to, the waiting arms of her psychotic family. And, you know, I don't want her around that. That is unsafe. Again, we're talking about a dad that, has already sexually assaulted her once before. You know, again, we'll get to that. Josh, that was your one warning, okay? We don't talk about that here. All right? One and only time. We don't talk about that here. It wasn't a BB gun. Yeah. Now, let's cross some bridges here. Again, my grandmother, you know, grew up during the Great Depression. She, you know, amazing woman, you know. Okay. Well, today, like I said, getting the news about my grandma, getting news about financial dire straits because the bills are starting to mount. Evidently, Princess Faye really didn't pay as many of the bills as she said she did, and it's starting to show. So, Prince Magnum had to make some phone calls today, and I may be taking a job back as a maintenance man for McDonald's before I get the job at Walmart because I'm just waiting. I'm stuck waiting. And evidently, there's 15 people up for the same, up for jobs that in the same place. On top of that, I got a car. I got to get legal again because Princess Faye, when she left, she didn't really leave a whole lot. But then again, you got to have your money for your drugs. And that's not actually hateful. Okay. That's not hateful. That's just facts. Okay. That's facts of a chemical dependent. I'm not saying that out of hatefulness. Okay. Again, we're back to she's sick. But again, we're not here to talk about that just yet. We'll get to that later. I mainly want to talk about the fact that, there's now a hole in the family. My grandmother had broken the same hip twice. It did. I can see it. You're a very pretty young lady. Um, so right now, as it stands, my it's hard. Again, this is the grandmother that was instrumental in helping me become, I guess you could say, now we see each other. That's cute. Help me become the comedy genius that you've all come to love. I don't want to give out my grandma's name right now because of the fact that the virus was involved. The rest of the family is on quarantine, and they're going to have to make funeral arrangements. Yes, but because of the quarantine, they won't be allowed to make funeral arrangements for another 2 to 3 days from now. So come Saturday, I've got to, I'll be getting a phone call on all the funeral arrangements and trying to put it all back together as it goes, which means that Project Lena will have to hit the road pretty quickly. So my mother's actually flipping for the bill to help get Project Lena legal. Um, this is not easy. This is not easy, folks. Um, this is really hard. Tragedy on tragedy. I don't know what to do. You know, uh, with Princess Faye running out the way that she did, I appreciate that. But for right now, the big thing is that, you know, um, I just got to get through this. I just got to get through this moment right now. And I appreciate that. Um, I know my grandma wouldn't want me to mourn too much for her because did live. I appreciate that. My grandma would not want me to mourn too much because she did live a very long life. 96 is a long time. I've seen people live a little bit longer than that, but 96 is a long time. I'm going to tell y'all something that you might find interesting. My grandmother had broken the same hip twice, and both times I seen grandma. And one of those times I actually sat with her until the paramedics arrived to pick her up and take her to the hospital. In that time frame, she even had 3 hip replacements. Um, she had no more problems for many years. Um, as a matter of fact, um, as she, got older, they were talking about needing to do another hip replacement. And this came up probably about 4 years ago. This grandmother, my grandmother needing a hip replacement. Osteoporosis had taken over so much, the doctors didn't think she would even survive it. So she was down to where she was using a walker some of the time, but there was even sometimes she was even in a wheelchair. So I know that was tough for my grandma. And last year, my grandmother had a real nasty fall. She fell and banged herself up pretty good. We were all scared and held our breath for a moment. At the same time that was going on, my other grandma had just passed away. So this was last year around the same time. I'm like, dang it, when it rains, it pours, damn it. And that grandma, I kid you not, she was talking to my mom of all the things. She was talking to my mom. She lived up near St. Louis, not too far from Manchester. But you guys will get a kick out of this. My grandma uh, is so awesome. Okay, you know, 95 years old, 94 at the time. I'm sorry, 94 years is old at the time when this happens. Not even quite 95. And after she has that massive fall and everything, she's in the hospital. She was telling my mom. My mom calls her up to ask her how she was doing, if she was doing okay, and she says, tells my mom, says, boy, they got this one cute nurse that comes in. I don't mind seeing him. I'm like, oh my goodness. Her eyes are still working, evidently. And I mean, come on, guys. Come on, let's be real, okay? you know, grandma, you know, grandma's checking out the male nurse coming in to see her. That is awesome sauce right there. That I'm like, now that is awesome. My grandmother's eyes are still working, and I called her up and I said, "How you doing, Grandma?" She's like, "I'm a little sore, but I'm hanging in there." And she says, "I'm just glad to know that you're doing good. How are you feeling with your other grandma passing? I'm so sorry. She was a good woman. Um, yeah, she was a real amazing character." When grandma's eyes were still working, she told me that she's like, it's getting harder for me to get around. I got to use a wheelchair sometimes, and I was just trying to go from the wheelchair to the bed because I was tired. I was going to take a nap. She said, and I fell. She said, I fell pretty hard. She said, I remember when I would fall when I was younger, it didn't hurt so much. She said, "This hurts an awful lot. I was really worried I may have broke my hip again." I said, "But I'm okay." She said, "I'm just glad I'm okay." You know, if that male nurse ever sees this, my grandma thought you were cute. We'll get to all of that, Bitsy. We'll get to all of that. You know, so my grandma was quite the character. You know, one of the great stories about my true story here. True story. Okay, this is one of those amazing stories that gets handed down to you uh, from before you were born. Your folks, if you got grandparents still alive, start asking. Okay, because the story I'm about to tell you is going to be so awesome that it deserves to be told, and it deserves to be told. I'm telling you. Okay, my grandma. This was back in the 70s. My dad had a 66 Mustang GT coupe, not the fastback, but the coupe. This is one of the reasons why I love the coupes more than the fastback. And it had the traditional roof line. It sloped down like the fastback, okay? It came down, dropped, it was purple, actually. It was purple with a pony interior. And what the pony interior was on the front seats, the sloped roof is what designed, like on the 66 Mustang Shelby, well, the 66 Shelby Mustang GT 500, how that roof slopes doesn't do, the regular coupes didn't do that. They came, dropped, and cut back in a traditional line, in a straight line, just dropped down to the trunk. Well, the Mustang coupes had that. The fastbacks didn't. They had the sloped back window design, like Project Spirit. Okay. I'll give you an example of a car that has what we call the traditional roof line. Would have been the 1967 Buick Grand National, the GNX version. Well, um, my dad was sitting at a stoplight. Grandma pulls up next to him, and he rolls down the window, and basically, one way or the other, one of them said, "I'll race you home." Okay, my grandmother in the car next to my dad at a stoplight. "I'll race you home." The light turns green and they start racing. My grandmother, the little old lady from Pasadena at this point, racing her Pontiac down the road just blaring. And they came across a police department, and grandma got scared and backed off. Dad kept going. They get home, of all the things, my my dad sitting on the hood of the car is like, "What took you so long?" And grandma's like, "At the police station. I didn't want to get in no trouble." He's like, "Ah, fuck them guys." Yeah, that was my grandma. She told me that story about a million times and it never got old. Betsy is dying right now. Yeah, true story. My grandmother, you know, grandma was born in 1924, and just an amazing story. Amazing story. She was actually a few months older than my grandpa, but you know, yeah, she had a great time before hockey became a thing. She was even telling me about a game that they used to play that was similar to hockey, where you would crush. Right? What a grandma, right? Yeah, absolutely. And grandma always got a kick out of whatever car I was working on. And at one time, I had actually inherited a car from her, bought it from her, $450. And it was a 77 Oldsmobile Delta 88. That must be the genes. Um, and she seen me fixing it up and everything. She seen me fixing it up, and she would always get so excited. But then we had to give up on that project. I had an ex that did a number on it, but it was coming along really nicely. And Grandma, I started telling her some of the racing stories about that old car that I had bought from her, and she couldn't believe it. She's like, "Oh my goodness!" And I had these nice looking custom wheels on there. Oh, sharp. Woo! Even as banged up as the car was, and I was trying to put it back together and make it look good, believe it or not, it still looks sharp. She's like, I should have done that years ago. She's like, when I had the car, man, looking sharp, Prince Magnum. Looks good. She's like, I'm proud of you taking care of the old car this way. Damn good car. And it wasn't until I would say she was 90 and still driving, by the way. You couldn't keep that woman down. There was nothing stopping her. So, in a nutshell, Grandma, being the amazing woman that she was, the amazing stories that we have about her, without a doubt, Uh, I actually remember one time. See, my grandpa he was an ornery character. I mean, just humor, just all over this guy. So it was definitely in the car as my grandparents got together because my grandpa was had a lot of humor, and I'll have to tell a story about him real quick. But I distinctly remember one day we were all in the kitchen, and uh, Grandpa looks right at my grandma and says, "Hold still, dear. Hold still." He reaches up. She's like, "You better not do what I think you're going to do." He's like, "No, no, hold still, baby." He reaches up and pinches her right there. She's like, and it got her good. It wasn't like he was trying to hurt her or anything, but he was just being ornery. And she's like, "Oh," and slaps him a good one. And I'm like, "Oh my God, my grandmother just killed my grandpa." Oh my God. And I was probably about 18 at that time. Grandpa's like, "I had it coming. I had it coming." True story about my grandma. She was evidently she was a fiery redhead. I never got to see that. I'd never seen my grandmother's real hair color because she went gray, and by the time that I can remember, she always had gray hair. So that's what I always remember my grandma as. It's cute. It's cute. Very tall woman. We're talking for a woman of her, for a woman her age, from her age group. She was very tall, very tall. See, my grandpa, up until several injuries, he was about 5'10", so we were actually about the same height. And grandma was about 5'8". So for her time frame, she was very tall for her time, but very slim statured. And this was the grandma that, I mean, you know, to her, family fun night was not sitting around watching movies or playing video games. No, my grandma broke out the puzzles, and she broke out board games, card games, go fish, and all sorts of stuff like that. All sorts of stuff like that. Amazing. So much so that Princess Faye and I even started playing old board games every now and again. We should have done that a little bit more. But she was so much fun. So much fun. And we had a great time. Grandma was a lot of fun. She was so excited to see great grandchildren being born. She has a huge, massive family around her. And this is going to be a tough one. You know, um, some of her great grandkids are now thinking about settling down and having children of their own. She got to see that. She got to see several generations follow after her. I mean, How awesome is that? I mean, really? I mean, that is freaking amazing. To live all those years. And if she would have made it to 100, um, she would have got a letter from our president. And it would have, it definitely would have, you know, it would have definitely been something to see. My grandmother is an amazing woman through and through. And I miss her. I think about her a lot. But now that we've talked about my grandmother, I got to tell y'all a funny story about my grandpa. My grandpa was just as fun, a great guy. I was up there, and this was long before I knew I was an alcoholic to the degree that I became. 21 years old, I went up there for a quick family visit, and I knew I had to be at work that night, but I needed to get up there because there was some family from out of town. So I went up to see him, and we're all hanging out and everything. Well, I'm getting ready to leave, and Grandpa comes out to look at the car I had. It wasn't much to look at. It was an '80 Malibu station wagon. It was banged up, but it ran okay. Had a lot of problems with it, but it was a good car otherwise. And what ends up happening is Grandpa comes out to look at the old car, and he says, oh, it's not a bad car. Thank you, Allie. Appreciate that. Um, so he comes by, he comes out and looks at the old car, and he says, not a bad car. Hey, what's going on, James? James, I was in your live stream earlier today, but I really didn't feel like doing a whole lot of talking. Obviously, with what's going on with my wife, and then I just got bad news about my grandmother today. My grandma passed away at the age of 96. I'm hanging in there. Right now, the main focus right now, as part of this stream, is to remember some fond stories about my grandma. We'll get to the Princess Face stuff right after this. So, in the case of my grandmother, oh, okay, she turned it off. I'm gonna slide in for a minute. So, copyright stuff. They're always big about that here on YouTube, but for good reason. It is what it is. Um, so grandma passed away. Grandma passing away today has been hard. On top of everything with Princess Faye. So let me tell y'all, my grandpa, he comes out to look at my old car that I had. It was an '80 Malibu station wagon, and most people are like, station wagons, but they're actually pretty cool. Well, he's looking at it, he says, not a bad looking car. I said, Grandpa, it needs a lot of work to really be a good looking car. Is it paid for? Yes. You got a roof over your head? Yes. You got a job? Yes. I'd say you're doing all right, in my opinion. My basic needs are being met, you know. And we were sitting there talking, and he puts his arm around me and says, Prince Magnum, you all right? Just one thing about you. What's that, Grandpa? And I knew what he was going to say. He'd been saying it my whole life. He smiles at me and says, your feet stink. Not a joke. My grandpa comes up, do this to all of his grandkids. He'd come up, put his arm around you, and he'd say, you're all right. Just one thing about you. Your feet stink. And, and that was my grandpa. And, so if you think that's funny, right now I'm sure there's several of you just getting a little giggle out of that. That's cute. Your grandpa was like that. And I was 21 and he was still doing it to me. And finally I asked Grandpa, I said, Grandpa, where in the world did you get that? I gotta know. He said, well, it's a funny thing. He said, I heard your great grandpa say that to your dad when he was like 6 years old. And I was so tickled, I decided that when I had grandkids one day, I was going to do it to them. Well, I'm at the age where, I mean, I can become a grandpa. And I've already decided that I will do the same exact thing to my grandkids. I will go up to them, say, you're all right. Just one thing about you, your feet stink. So we'll definitely do that. But yes, I had amazing grandparents. Um, just amazing, amazing grandparents. I'm very fortunate. We're now to where I have only one left. I only have one grandparent left. And that's my grandpa on my mom's side. We lost, so on one side of my family, both grandparents are dead. They're gone. And last year we lost my first, my grandmother from my mom's side last year. And now just yesterday, last night at about 11 p.m. Central Standard U.S. time, we said goodbye to my 96-year-old grandmother. And I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going to miss her. You know, again, if you missed it earlier in the show, when I told, you know, y'all think I'm some sort of great comedy genius and everything, I'm going to tell y'all, you could thank that woman for it. Her standing up to my cousin saying, don't you dare say anything to him. And then looks at me and says, for me to continue on being the funny, and being funny and making people laugh. Don't listen to anybody because laughter makes the world go round. That's an amazing grandma. So all of the comedy that you guys enjoy on this channel, all the humor that you guys have enjoyed on this channel, we can thank that woman for telling me to continue. I understand, Bitsy. Um, Thank you. Um, Now here in a little, we're getting close to the 1 hour marker, and pretty much we're going to be back on the subject of putting the pressure on Princess Faye. She needs to make that phone call. Well, she needs to give me that call. We need to talk. We need to begin. Mm. But no, Grandma was an amazing woman. Um, Again, if you missed it earlier in the show, she definitely changed lives. She just may not know it till now. For the record, I don't think Grandma would have ever have approved of cinnamon, but she would have approved of the fact that I was making people laugh with using that character. It's been hard. Um, that's not accurate. Um, we're close enough now to that hour marker, and we probably should go live sometime tomorrow, saying goodbye to my grandmother. Um, Say goodbye, in the way that this channel only knows how. I know when she found out about my alcoholism, she says, I don't understand it, but I just know I'm proud of you for doing the right thing. So this has been hard on me. But But I know she was really proud when she heard about all the people that I've reached. And I know when I told her, I said, she's like, what else are you doing besides working and, being a husband and that? I said, Grandma, I'm on the internet. I have a show where I teach people about custom cars, romance, living without drugs and alcohol. She was an amazing woman. I wish y'all would have had the chance to meet her. And I was hoping that she would be alive long enough for all of us to go up there and get some and put her on camera so she could tell some of the stories of when she was younger. Um, just amazing woman, and I miss her. I do love my cats. Matter of fact, right there, Zelda's actually sitting right over here, just off camera. Show you, Zelda, Zelda. Some has her attention. She's gotten big, hasn't she? She's gotten real big. She was a teeny tiny little puffball when we first got her. Cute as a button. Here we are now. But anyhow, moving forward into continuing our intervention. Yeah, I've been feeding her. She actually comes and tells me when her bowl's empty. So I do not, but I have Facebook Messenger. We'll get to all that. I know once I give the name out, the damn Facebook Messenger will explode. If I don't recognize you, it's kind of like that. Um, so that's the basis. I know. So let's talk for a minute now, folks. Princess Faye was kind of taking over the office, and here in so we moved my editing area to the bedroom. But to give you an idea, right on the desk, a picture of us together. Remind me what I'm fighting for every minute, okay? That beautiful woman in that picture was after the birth of our second child together. I have 5 kids total. And, I wanted nothing more. I want nothing more for her to get home and be safe. I do trust her, despite everything. I still trust her. I still love her. We've been together for 10 years, been married almost 8. Okay. You know, and I don't put I wouldn't have dared put a ring on her finger if I didn't think she was the real deal. Okay. Drugs and alcohol took over. All right. Drugs and alcohol got her. Um, they took over her life. And she also suffers from a type of depression I didn't understand fully. I understand PTSD and I understand the depression that comes with that and, the mood swings and everything. I understand all of that. I didn't understand this. So, in that regard, if anything, I failed my wife. But last night I was on the phone with a professional, and she's been a little busy, so I haven't been able to reach her. But I've been on the phone with a professional, and I've actually, well, I'm not going anywhere till I save my wife first. I'm got to save my wife first. If she doesn't want to be with me after that, then that's fine. Again, this is a woman that's been damaged and damaged in a very bad way. We talked about this the last 3 days. We're going to do it again. We've even talked about it in this morning's stream. Her father, Eric Carter, did sexually assault her when she was 14 years old. Okay. We talked about that story. All right. Her mother was a very abusive, abusive with her manipulation to the point where Princess Faye, everyone's heard the story of how Princess Faye and I met. We met online playing World of Warcraft. Everybody's heard that story, right? I bought her a ticket. She came out here and I knew she was the one. I did. Well, here's the problem. I didn't know this right away. She's not evil. She's not evil. Well, then again, we all are. To what degree, though? You know, and sickness, mental. This channel does acknowledge that mental illness is a problem. I may not always understand it, but it's real. Just because I don't understand it doesn't mean, that's not true. You never give up hope saving someone's life. You never give up hope saving someone's life until they're gone from this earth. Okay? You never give up hope. So I'm going to remind you all that I know some of you have a hard time understanding that, but I love that woman, and making sure that she is safe and protected is a priority. Maybe, but the truth of it is that how do I put this? She understood. Thank you so much, Third Gen. We were just talking about earlier in the stream the passing of my grandmother, who was 96 years old. So, on top of my wife running off due to mental illness and drug addiction, um, you know, she, my grandmother passed away last night. So, I'm dealing with a lot right now. This is a lot for me to deal with. Now, again, I'm going to remind you all that I did give out her father's name and I did give out her Princess Faye's mother's name. So we will go on a little bit further, and if need be, maybe giving out my real name, Princess Faye's real name, and her sister's real name, and the first name, and the where the guy was who was giving her illegal prescription drugs. Princess Faye, I know you're somewhere in the background. I know you're watching, wondering how much further I will go to make sure that your home's safe. If you already know I'll give out your parents' names, you know I'll even do even my own at that point. If this is what it takes. Folks, mental illness is a real deal. My wife, when I described the medication to the person in the the professional community, Okay. Um, but here it is. My wife is sick. She's sick right now, and we've got to get her help, and we have to get her away from her abusive family. Uh, I don't know. I'm I don't know. Place is a wreck right now. She kind of left it a wreck too. Of course, we hadn't had a chance to do any major cleaning in a minute, but when she did clean, I mean, it was always just boom. My wife's amazing, and she suffers from manic depression. Basically, when I described it to the professional, she's like, "It sounds like she has serious manic depression," and um, well, it's a little too soon for all that. The job thing seems to be being taken care of right now. What's going on, Chairman? We just talked about the passing of my grandmother. I appreciate that, but um, I'm not. Right now it's just a little soon yet. I appreciate it though. We could talk though. But here it is in a nutshell. I love my wife. She's sick. She needs help. Okay. And as I already said, yeah, it's evening. Yeah, it's evening, brother. With the passing of my grandma and all of this, it's just an awful lot. Oh, I wouldn't, I appreciate that. You know, I, but we'll wait a little bit. And if need be, like I said, I will be giving out my real name, Princess Faye's real name. And I basically will call a 10-minute marker. If I don't see that, if I don't see the thing light up saying, I will call you right, as soon as you end the stream, then we won't have to go any further. And she's got to listen. Okay. Well, no, there's a reason for it, Chairman. If there's enough information, and all of this is free information, anyways. And my name is pretty well, I've had people look me up on Facebook through my YouTube channel. Okay. I've had people look me up on Facebook. Hey, and actually call me and say, hey, I know you. You're Prince Magnum of the Prince Magnum channel, where hot rodding and romance do coexist. Princess Faye always called me her prince for the longest time. Last few months, she stopped. The drugs had taken over. It was no longer her Prince Magnum. I've even had numbers show up, wrong numbers. It's like, do you know? No, Princess Faye was well above me. She was on a higher pedestal. I always felt like she was on a higher pedestal than me. The artwork that you seen done to Project Spirit, that was all Princess Faye. Princess Faye bought me Project Spirit. True story. Guy's name is Will. That's all I know, but I know he works over at Walmart in Deloge. I've always felt that way. Even when we got together, I always felt like she was the most amazing part of my life, next to my children. I don't believe that. Sometimes, but what happened to her? And people can get help and get better. Truth of it is that she can get help and she can get better. And again, if she decides she doesn't want nothing to do with me after that, That's fine. I'll understand. But at least I know she stands a chance. And she doesn't deserve to be around, family that's going to manipulate her, take advantage of her, and keep adding to her drug addiction. She needs to know that there is happiness beyond the diseases of chemical dependency and manic depression. There is happiness. I did not know to the degree it was. Maybe I was blind because I held her on such a high pedestal. I was blind. I always felt like she was stronger than me. But she's not. She's just as human as I am. And I even screwed up once and cheated on her long time ago. I did screw up once. I'll tell you all a funny story. No, she was always in my league. And I will tell you, even after she gave birth to our two children, it's like she got more and more beautiful as the time went on. Absolutely. Even I myself, what was happening at the time when I screwed up like that was it almost seemed like Princess Fade wasn't really paying attention to me. Maybe she was in her own personal way, but she was having a hard time really showing it. And at the time, the channel was pretty small. No, no. That's a whole nother story that we've actually talked about numerous times here on this channel. We just don't talk about it much anymore. Mainly because, every time I get talking about it, the truth is being told, every time we get talking about it, it would stop me from talking about it. So out of respect for her, we don't anymore anyways. So, but, for those kind of taking this all in, with everything going on, again, what we're actually talking about is the fact that Princess Faye is sick. Okay, she's sick. Just no different than when I fell into the bottom of a bottle and was there for many, 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 many years. It took what it took for me to come out. People had to kick enough, had to take enough stuff away from me for me to realize it. Now the bottom is different for everyone, but right now we're trying to create an intervention. Okay, get the word out, share it out to everyone share this stream, this morning's stream, the streams before, where we started making this intervention. Okay, and they're real easy to see. Continue to share this out to everybody The more and more people that know, the better off we are, the better her chances. You cannot, and again, this channel does recognize mental health issues, all right? And we do recognize that addiction is real. We can't say that a person is bad I'm hanging in there. We got word that my grandmother passed away, so on top of my wife, uh, going off the deep end from her drug use and mental illness, uh, we find out that I find out this morning after this morning's live stream that my grandmother passed. I don't think y'all give her enough credit. I don't think y'all give her enough credit. She was the one to unlock the character Cinnamon. She was, all the artwork you see here on the channel, that was my wife. We're about 10 minutes away from where I make that 10-minute warning. I know that's how it looks, but I know the difference. I know how real she is. That is my wife. And as a husband, it is my duty. to protect my wife. I will always love her. I'm still wearing our ring, my wedding ring. And the only time I ever took it off is if it accidentally fell off or I was doing the magic trick where I made the ring crawl up a rubber band. Well, it's a little too soon for all of that. I appreciate that. I don't know if you could see me. One of my really awesome neighbors. Really nice guy. So I will tell you that my wife is amazing. I know it's hard for y'all to see what I seen. And, like I said, I fucked up a long time ago. I didn't feel she was paying attention to me, and I kind of let another woman talk me into it. There's actually a video that talks a little bit about that. I can't remember if it was like In Your Face or Surviving Romance. It might have been one of the two, but it's titled, I don't even have a title for this. And in that video, I told the story of a couple that I named Tommy and Gina. Ironically enough, hold on to your hats. The couple actually was Princess Faye and I. That video is about 3 years old now. I don't think so. She's just sick. Folks, I'm going to remind you. I don't feel that way. Um, Let me tell you all, my wife, um, took care of me when I started the Prince Magnum channel. My health was declining. I honestly thought I was going to die. I was having heart problems. And I thought I was going to die. I'd been married just a few months. My wife stepped up and took care of me. I'd already started the channel, and it even got to the point where I was afraid to fall asleep at night because my heart was my heart was in bad shape. And she took care of me. She took care of me, nursed me back to health so I could go to work and everything. She wasn't getting anything out of it. That woman saved my life. Lou, I wish you could see what she was really like before the channel really started getting traction. Yes, absolutely. Princess Faye, she is sick right now, folks. She is sick and she needs help. It's up to us to reach out, continue to reach out, and make it tough for her to stay, reminded that it's time to come home. It's time to get the help you need to get away from the folks that have really been hurting, that hurt you. Let me tell you all, she was so bad off and had admitted this numerous times. When she came here, when I bought her that plane ticket, sight unseen, and I met her and I knew she was the real deal, she admitted later on that she was hoping I was some sort of sadistic, psychotic serial killer, that I would do the job for her. And I said, you were wrong. I said, you are something more. She still is in my eyes. She's given me two beautiful children, and I do love her. I don't believe that, Lou. And please do not bash my wife. She's a good woman. She's sick. And this channel does recognize mental illness. Mental illness is real. She needs help. I just didn't know to the severity. I never knew that I would end up with someone like my grandmother that passed away last year, that was so mentally ill that she would be on medication for the rest of her life. I never thought that I would end up with someone like that. I was blind. I failed my wife in that regard. Now, after that one time where I screwed up, I've been faithful. She may not believe me, but I was always faithful. She always, accused me of it. We need to don't feel sorry for her, but have empathy. Empathy. Don't feel sorry for her. She wouldn't want that anyways. Don't have pity, have empathy. Okay? She deserves that. She deserves to know that she's still loved. In a lot of ways, Project Spirit is. This is the house that Project Spirit built. But if it wasn't, for Princess Faye, I wouldn't have Project Spirit. She bought me that car. I don't believe that. She is amazing. But doing whatever it takes and getting her father, Eric Carter, locked up for that sexual assault when she was 14 is a priority still. Um, he needs to go to in front of a judge. We described all of that. She is lost right now. We're trying to find her, but she is an amazing woman. And if after we get her help, she still wants to, she doesn't want to be with me anymore, I'll understand. But I'll even go in, I'm probably going to need nuts and bolts tightened down too. I'll do whatever it takes. Am I an irate husband? Yeah, but not the way you would think. This is not a control issue. More or less. It's not a control issue. I can, yes, but at my age, I really shouldn't. I'm 42. I really should be thinking about grandchildren, okay? Um, oh God. I should be thinking about grandchildren at my age. I should be getting ready for grandchildren. I have 5 kids already. You know, at 42, I should be thinking about grandchildren for God's sakes. At my age, I'm an old man, okay? I'm an old man. And I'm okay with that though. I've lived a pretty good life, and 10 years of that life I've shared with one of the most amazing women on the planet, hands down, bar none. The reason why Princess Faye did not want me to get the surgery, thank you for that. The truth of it is Princess Faye didn't want me to get that in case there was a chance that, you know, Here, you guys will love this. I'm one of the last remaining members of my Native American tribe. I'm one of the last of them. And she wanted to be able to continue the tribe. And amazingly enough, she wanted the tribe to continue to maybe, and she's like, I don't want to take that away because if there's a chance that you can add to the tribe, I want you to. She said, that is your tribe. They're almost gone and we can't have that. So she actually, that was actually something she had said, and we would figure out a way. She said, the main thing is that your tribe continue. My own wife, that. So right there, okay, y'all think about that for a moment. Take that in for a moment. Wow. We're getting the word out. We're now, I'm giving a 10-minute marker. At the 1 hour, 40-minute marker, if I do not see Princess Faye give me a message saying we need to talk, I will go a step further. But in last night's stream, a brother of mine was trying to stand up for, to say what needs to be said, and it didn't come out the way that we wanted it to. I will always be Prince Magnum, Bitsy. I will always be Prince Magnum. And she will always be Princess Faye. Well, he ended up losing his channel yesterday. He lost a lot. His channel was shut down. He actually has been instrumental in helping me deal with everything. And I know you guys, no, he didn't. He lives all the way over on the other side of the world, across the pond. That's why I always said he's my brother from another mother from across the pond. There was no way he could, that him and Princess Faye did anything. Okay? Y'all got to understand that I have strict rules on what's considered, and I always knew he never meant any harm. He was accused of being basically uh, under the troll rules here on YouTube. He was accused of it, basically, saying hateful stuff in the stream yesterday, and YouTube slapped a huge ban, took down his channel and everything. It's not a coincidence. Okay, he is my brother, and he has been very helpful through this troubled time. And he's friends with Princess Faye. Yeah, I know they have, but see, here's the thing that a lot of you are not taking into consideration. No, he's not lying to me. I know my brother. Let let me tell you all that um, him and I have had long conversations. We've talked about stuff of all sizes and shapes. You know, he's been with me. He's my partner. You know, and and I think the world of him. You know, hang on a second here, folks. So I ask that you all show some respect for a guy who's been helping me. All right. Again, There will be no bashing of anybody in this chat. All right? Plain and simple. There'll be no bashing of anybody in this channel. We're not here to put anyone down. We're here to point the fingers at those who are responsible for Princess Faye's mental condition. I failed her as a husband for not paying attention closer to the problem. We're 5 minutes away if Princess Faye does not light that up. So again, I'm going to ask y'all to show some respect. But at that, in about actually 4 minutes now, if we do not get a response from Princess Faye, I will be giving out my real name, her sister's name, and we'll even mention the guy who was giving her the drugs illegally. These people need to be brought to justice. Princess Faye needs help. Luby Lou, I haven't forgotten her. And I won't. That is my wife. She is not below me. Dang, police are getting on it. I actually heard the vehicle, the cruiser. Dang. Well, I said that I would go to the next level if I had to get her the help. And if enough pressure comes down on her, she'll have to listen. She's got to listen. We've got to do this. We've got to get her help. Without question. Whatever it takes. So again, I ask you all to show some respect, okay? That is my wife. It is my duty to keep her strong. We are 2 minutes away. Honey, I know you're in the background. I know you know I'll do this. You know I'll do this. Please don't put me in this position. Please don't make me have to make it harder on us. I'm not interested in anybody right now. I'm just interested in making sure my wife's safe. And I appreciate that. But it's up to us. We'll get to all of that. So I ask you all to show some respect. All right? I ask you to take down that, no, she is something. She is something. And I ask y'all to show some respect. Now, folks, I mean what I say. Show some respect to that woman. We're not there. It's too soon for me. And I'm still bound by my word. For better or poor, sickness and health, till death do us part, till the bitter end. Is my beloved. As a matter of fact, I even have her ring right here. Remind me while I'm still doing this. We're now at that time. No, I don't. I know better than that. My name is Dennis Pohl. Last name spelled Pohl. I am on Facebook. My wife's name is Miranda Pohl. Maiden name Carter. Yep, I am on Facebook. I know many of you are probably going to be wanting to send me messages and everything else. Keep it to a minimum. I can only handle so much. Her sister's name is Alexandria Carter. Kind of a weird spelling, but it is what it is. And the guy who gave her the illegal prescription, his name is Will, and he works at the Deloge Walmart on night shift. So I expect the authorities to do what they do. I'm really not interested in all that right now. Okay. My wife needs help. So let's reach out. So, honey, I promised I would go to the next level. We're going to keep doing this. Miranda, I want you home. I want you safe. I want you well. Now that I've given these names out, I ask that y'all continue to still show the respect to the Prince Magnum channel, that we use the online names that we do for a reason. It is part of my anonymity for Alcoholics Anonymous, but we do that on purpose. Um, I am to remain anonymous at at the level of press, radio, and film. So I ask that you all continue to show the respect and just refer to me as Prince Magnum when I'm on camera, or when I go live in a stream. Um, so I ask that you all continue to share these videos out, share the live streams out, share the playbacks out. We need to get, we need to get this out. Okay. We need to get, my wife the help that she needs. Miranda, dear, honey, I'm not going to stop until we get you safe. We need you home. We need you away from the people that abused you. Your dad, Eric, he did you wrong. Your mom, Leah, she did you wrong. It's got to stop. And they're manipulating you right now. They have you thinking that I'm the world's worst husband. And yes, I have failed you in many ways and in many regards. But without question, you you know I love you. And come home, let's get you squared away. Because the next step is for me to continue to contact the professionals, and I now have professionals willing to push the paperwork through. And if the paperwork goes through, it's not going to be pretty. Come home. Let's get you fixed. And then if you still want to leave, I'll understand. And you can even hate me for the rest of your life. And even beyond that. But at least I know that you're going to be okay, because you deserve so much. Oh, please. Show some respect to my wife. She's a beautiful woman. She deserves the best. Even if, we're talking that I had to go to, I have to go to the next level. So again, show some respect, folks. She's sick. I know it's easy to just take sides, but you cannot take sides for someone. You can't blame someone when they're sick and suffering like this. You can't blame them. It's not fair. Okay? If a family member gets sick, you don't blame them for being sick. You don't blame them for being sick. That's wrong. She needs help. So let's show her love that she deserves. She deserves that help. She deserves she deserves something, some sort of happiness. But she's not going to find it doing drugs and doing all the stupid stuff and living in that world of depression. She's not going to find happiness. Miranda, you know that I've been put in this position. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate myself for it. But I know full well that if I don't do this, that you're not going to get help. It is sad. So please, folks, for the people that continue to help support me on and off the camera, I ask that all of you continue to show respect. There are wonderful people that have been a part of this for a long time and been a dear friend to me. Show some respect, folks. We have wonderful people that continue to build this channel up and continue to build me up. We need to continue to get the word out. My Miranda needs to be brought home. She needs to get better. And once she's better, if she still doesn't want to be a part of my life, I'll understand. But until she's away from her family, she did get screwed over pretty big. She got cheated. She got cheated in life. And again, I messed up as a husband on a lot of levels. You know, third gen will tell you. Well, when we didn't always see eye to eye back in the day. But then, Princess Faye said something, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And then when I said, "That's my wife," and he's like, "Oh shoot, I'm so sorry. I did not know that was your wife." And he has a great deal of respect for her. Nothing but respect. You know, I'm not angry with her at all. I'm not angry with her. I'm angry with myself because I didn't see the problem until it was too late. When someone has mental illness, my wife set me free. She took care of me after my stroke. She took care of, please. I'm I just want my wife home. That's what this series has all been about. Getting her, you know, initially when I started off, I honestly thought maybe that it wasn't as bad as it sounded. And then as stuff started coming in, I found out how deep it got. She is my beloved for a reason. And that will never change. So as we begin to wind down the stream, I've given out the names, and we'll continue from here to continue to hound uh, my wife until she listens to come home. and gets the help she needs. She's not going to find it up there in Oregon. It's too easy for her to keep doing what she's doing and to throw herself into that world. Folks, it sounds like she may have been on Adderall. And with manic depression and Adderall do not mix. And it explains a lot of stuff going on. I would hope she would come back to me now. She's 28 years old and she's amazing. I never could do that to her. She knows the front door is still open right now for her. I've never given up. Yeah, it's ranks right up. We'll talk more about this in another stream, but in the meantime, we're getting ready to wind it down. I've got a few phone calls I've got to make. I got to talk to some folks. So again, I do not want any toxic talk. Okay? My wife is sick, and there are friends that are off camera that have been helping me. Okay? There are friends that do help me. What's going on, sis? I need to give you a holler and tell you what's going on. Right, Chairman? So I ask that all of you continue to show the respect of everyone that shows up in these channels. I stuck up for my brother. And he will always be my brother. And I ask that you all show him the same respect you would me. Because he is an amazing friend. My little sister grew up and she's quite, sis, I'll have to tell you about it later. Well, my little sister's, evidently. But sis, I also got bad news to tell you off camera. We talked about it earlier. Grandma passed away. Don't talk to Dad about it yet. We'll have to talk more about it off camera. But folks, we've reached the point where I need to stop the stream. And again, I stood up for my brother tonight, and I will start as of starting. Oh, you think? Okay. So I'm going to tell you all right now. Starting this next stream, if I see any nasty comments towards any of my the people that are helping me off camera, I will start banning people. There is someone who has been helping, and he's been accused wrongly. And I will not tolerate it anymore. Oh, someone called. Okay, sis. So, with that being said, all your loved ones, keep them close. Right? Right, sis? Well, you're different. Show some respect, folks. Show some respect. I know it's hard for y'all to understand. But we have to keep everybody close and hold them up. I appreciate that. All right, folks. We're at that stage. Again, if you have a loved one, don't take anything for granted. Keep them close. Keep them close to your heart. Don't take anything for granted. And if nobody has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.